Hi, welcome to the September 11th meeting of the Williamson County chapter of the Native Plant Society of Texas. Tonight's program, Guidelines for Learning to Identify Common Native Grasses of Central Texas with Ricky Linex. So we're very excited about the program this evening, and we had lots of nice grasses in the back and still a few that are looking for homes. So consider that before you leave. Um, I just want to say thank you to Nancy Copperman, who's not here this evening, for serving as president of the chapter for the past 2 years. Um, I'm your new president. I'm Mark Stetzer. Um, so I thought I would mention that, and still we'll figure that out as we go along. Um, so yeah, so we'll keep on keeping on, and everything's going to be just fine. Uh, we've we've got great committee chairpersons, and this is all possible because of all the work that you all put in. It's definitely not me. So tonight's plants, as you saw back there, to dispel the gloom. I'm not going to tell you about the plants. That's for Ricky's talk. Let me tell you about that. These are all plants that you want to on. Okay, so that's good. So it's all great. Yep, big blue stem in order. Ooh, there we go. Big blue stem, purple three on, blue grama, tall drop seed, Gulf muley, deer muley, and then our seat muley. So a couple of those are from plant rescues in the Williamson County area. So we're excited to have those here, keeping those genetics going. So again, still a few back there looking for a home. So check those out before we go. Here's just a list of some of our upcoming programs. We've got things scheduled through December, and hey, through January, we're at the Georgetown Public Library. Always check to see where we're going to be. So our speaker committee does a great job of finding speakers for us. If you have a suggestion, please contact Susie Hickman so we can keep our offerings going into the future. Upcoming field trips, why? Tomorrow, September 12th, 8:45 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. At River Ranch County Park. Grass identification field trip with Ricky Lennox, tonight's speaker. So excellent. Berry Springs Park coming up, Godwin Preserve, Plant Survey, Gary Park, and December is to be determined. One of the field trips that just occurred in August to Godwin Ranch Preserve. Um, it's a mitigation site for Lakeline Mall and Cedar Park. 60 species of plants were observed, including some of those shown. And folks, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. And it didn't do it anyway, so that's great. Had a great time getting out and about and seeing the native plants in their native-ish habitat. So thanks to Cindy Chrysler for making those photographs available. Okay, hey, our plant sale is coming up. Okay, October 11th at Southwest Williamson County Regional Park. We've got a plant list on the blog. Do check out the blog. It's going to be updated up through the sale. If you would like to volunteer, well, uh, please see our webpage. And we've got signups for in-person folks in the back. Um, Nancy Pumphrey brought the sign-up sheets. If you're at home and would like to volunteer, please go to our website, the contact form, and express your interest in volunteering for the fall plant sale. It's a fun time. You get to learn about plants. You get to be part of a fantastic process. And it's always an exciting time. So, oh yeah, hey, what I just said, there we go, in case I forgot. So Zoomers, please do use our website, and use the contact form if you'd like to help out at our fall plant sale. It would be much appreciated. Speaking of additional volunteer opportunities, a couple things that I didn't get in. The fall symposium is coming up. And yeah, on our blog, there are opportunities listed, numerous opportunities to volunteer. There are about 8 different sign-up forms you could fill out. If check-in and registration is your thing, there's a slot for you. Concurrent sessions volunteers, field trip facilitator volunteers, food and beverage facilitator volunteers, the list goes on. So please do check our website and to see if you can help out with the fall symposium. And another thing that didn't make it in, on September 27th, the Lindheimer chapter is going to commemorate its 25th anniversary by hosting a Wildscapes workshop at the Ty Preston Memorial Library. This is an all-day event including educational presentations, guided native plant walks, a raffle, and it ends with a plant sale. I didn't say that last part. All right. Our plant sale is October 11th. It's here, it's local. But apparently workshop attendees will have, well, I'm just going to stop right there. But see our blog for registration details. September 12th is actually the deadline for that one. So if you're interested in the Wildscapes workshop, check that out soon on our website. Aha. And now we're going to take a little break. Nancy Pumphrey has a very special award to present.
If y'all don't know me, I'm Nancy Pumphrey. I'm the wart on your back for plant sale. The signups are in the back, and I appreciate if you do just write your name and some way to contact you, and I'll sign you up for whatever you'd like. But today I have a very special award. We don't usually give out special awards, but one of the things that I do is kind of head up the special projects. So the Monarch Garden over in Taylor. I got Gary hoodwinked into going every month to the landfill garden, the library here. Oh, Texas Baptist Children's Home. We have a little garden there. Where else, Randy?
The nest.
Oh yeah, the nest, the passion vine, overgrown, and the rock. But I have a person that has put in countless hours. Leland, will you come up here, please? I thought I was the Energizer Bunny and could garden all over the county. Well, Leland is the wackiest weeder I've ever met. And he absolutely can weed anywhere. He has helped at the Peterson Garden in Hutto. He's helped out at the Monarch Way Station in Taylor. He's helped Gary out at the landfill. He's helped Jessica Woods out at the utility building on Sunrise. Is there anywhere else?
I've done some work at Berry Springs.
Oh, Berry Springs, that's right. So he really gets around. So I thought the first thing I would gift him with is a native plant t-shirt.
Thank you. Green should highlight my red face right there.
But the next thing I wanted to present him with is the Silver Spade Award. And a bag to put it in.
I think this means keep working.
It does, but I just wanted to acknowledge Leland because he has spent hundreds of hours on our projects, and we really appreciate him.
Hey, speaking of volunteering at some of the gardens that we do, every third Sunday of the month, 8:30 to 10:30 at the Williamson County landfill. It's a great time to meet people and see some plants and do some good. So please do consider coming out. No need to sign up, just show up. bring some tools. We'll have tools there as well. But it is a good time, and it's a neat thing to see. So every third Sunday of the month at the Williamson County Landfill. An attendee at tonight's meeting in person will win this book that will be sent to you because a new president, dropped the ball on that one. So everything's going to be fine. It's going to be great. It's going to be sent directly to your home. You'll get it. It's wonderful, and everything's going to be just fine. Just the reminder to keep in touch with what's going on with the chapter, our chapter website, our YouTube channel, Facebook, and do sign up for our blog. It's the best way to keep track of things. So again, always take note of the location of the meeting. We're here for the next several months, so that's nice. That's good. So the next meeting that we're not here, I'll be here, and you'll be wondering where I am. So super fantastic. Okay, haha. So we've gotten to the point of tonight's meeting, our presentation on grasses with Ricky Linex. Ricky Linex is a wildlife biologist, having retired from the Natural Resources Conservation Service, where he worked for 38.5 years. Over the previous 18 years, Ricky served 52 counties in north central Texas. Ricky is the author of Range Plants of North Central Texas, a land user's guide to their identification, value, and management, which is actually the book that will be sent to your home if you win it. His assistance to landowners and managers involves mutual education on how to better manage rangelands for sustainable use by livestock and wildlife. Knowing the plants and how to manage them is critical for success as a land steward. So thank you very much, and I will gladly hand everything
All right.
over.
Well, welcome everyone. Let's see if we can, and hopefully everybody got one of these handouts because it's kind of a take-home sheet. All right, we're going to talk about how grass is the stockman's crop, and that's one way you can sometimes hurt the heart of a rancher. Call them a grass farmer. They don't like that, but that's what they are. They're harvesting the grass, and it's also the home for all wildlife. And this would have been a picture that maybe the Blackland Prairie would have looked like, 150, 175 years ago. It wasn't all trees and it wasn't all grass, kind of a mix. If you look at the roots, and this is from an old publication put out by Phillips Petroleum Company, Phillips 66, they would give this plant book to landowners, ranchers, hoping to lease their land for oil. But look at the plant roots. The one over there next to the 6-foot tall man for size, scale, annual broomweed, annual plant. Look at the little weak roots. Japanese brome, another annual. But why we want to manage for perennials is they've got such a better root system. They're always going to be there. Annuals, some years we don't have broomweed. If it's a dry winter and a dry spring, we don't have any broomweed. And this is an old publication here, old drawing. Someone colored it for us years ago, and it looks a whole lot better than it did black and white. But the roots of the plants gather water, nitrates, and minerals, and these are then converted into food for growth by the leaves. And the roots also store energy so that the plants can green up in the spring before there are any leaves. How does the plant green up? Greens up off the stored energy in the roots. The leaves take in the presence of sunshine, carbon dioxide from the air and the water, nitrates and minerals from the soil to make the plants grow. So if you have, like that photo on the left, healthy tops, healthy leaves, you'll have healthy roots. But if you overgraze on the right, or if you overmow too short, then those range grasses are going to have short roots. And then the first hard drought or the first really cold spell, they go out. So overgrazing or overmowing destroys both the leaves and the roots. Here's the first one up, Indian grass. Beautiful plants. Are the seed heads showing up down here? Up in our country, they're not yet. They're in the boot stage, but You know, it's just a blue-green color. The distribution map in the center, that's from BONAP, Biota of North America program. And all it means is if a county is light green, somewhere there in some herbarium, a plant was collected from that county and it's in a database. That doesn't mean that a county next to you that's not green doesn't have Indian grass. It just wasn't collected and submitted to a herbarium. So where does it get the name Indian grass from? Those little ears right there. Right there. I overheard an ag teacher one time, his 4 kids in a wildlife contest, they had missed this plant on the quiz. And he was using word association to help them remember. He said, you know, if you think about it, rabbits have ears and Indians ate rabbits. So if it has ears, it's Indian grass. Simple but effective. Big blue stem. If you look at big blue stem now, it's standing tall, but probably by mid to late November, you go back and look for it and you won't see it. It's fallen down. It has very little lignin and cellulose in the stems, and that makes it very palatable, very tender, but after it kind of matures, it gets weak and it drops down. But it has that, and you notice the distribution shows up in all 10 vegetational regions of the state. There's where it gets the usually 3, sometimes 4 in that photo, turkey foot seed head. And you can see the pollen hanging off of that. Grasses have flowers. Now here's little blue stem, good landscaping plant. Probably of the 4 I'm going to show you in the first 4 grasses, this is the weakest as far as palatability for livestock, but it's common. And that was why it was listed among the big 4 of our grasses. So it has this blue-green color, the typical bunch grass shape. Look at where it grows in Texas. It's probably in right there, 80% of the counties in Texas have it. Here's the difference in little blue stem seed head on the left, which it may make up at least half of the height of the grass. On the big blue stem, it's right up here at the top of the stems. And up at the very top, I won't have time to go over these, but you can look at them on the recording. I've got some values, like for cattle grazing, fair, the F. For deer, fawning cover, quail, nesting cover. Dove, it's too thick a growth. They don't like it. They need bare ground. Turkey, nesting cover. So you can look at that later. Here we are in the early spring. You can see some of the last year's dry stems, the old brown color right there. That's last year's growth. The new green, blue-green is this year's. And then by about this time of year, it starts turning into a stovepipe. You know, a 3-foot piece of stovepipe, 8 inches in diameter. That's what it looks like. So, little blue stem. Switchgrass, and again, fairly common across the state. That's what makes these first 4 the big 4 grasses of Texas. Big, robust panicum, got an open seed head on it. It can grow near the water, in the water, and it can grow up on an old high, dry prairie. If I can get this remote, there we go. A long way from water. And again, there's that big open, kind of a Johnson grass or a Klein grass looking seed head. We've got 2 grasses that look very similar in case you run into false switchgrass. Now notice it's not as common as switchgrass, but it is, someone collected it in Bell County. So it could be here too. So how can you tell them apart? If you see a grass you think is switchgrass, but it looks a little different, maybe it's shorter and it looks like it's in a carpet, rhizomatous growth, take the stem and roll it between your fingers. If it's round, that's switchgrass. But if it's oval like an egg and you can feel it, that'll be false switchgrass. And false switchgrass bends at the nodes where those arrows are. Switchgrass stems are straight. One more way you can tell them apart. The false switchgrass, again, you can see the oval. They're on those 2 stems on the left. And it's normally solid, but occasionally you'll see a small little hole like that one on the left in the stem. But look at the big hole over here on the right in the switchgrass and the roundness of that stem. So that's how you can tell them apart. If you're ever walking down in a creek and you feel, and it's got that oval shape, well, you know that's not switchgrass, but false switchgrass.
Is it native?
Yes, it is native. It's just not as common as the other. Now here's Eastern gamagrass. I say that this is the most palatable grass a cow can ever wrap her tongue around. Why is it not one of the big four? It's big enough, tall enough. It's not common enough. So that's why it's not. But look at the flowers in the middle of the photo there. This one has male and female parts on the same plant. The male pollen at the top, the female ovaries at the bottom, and they mature into little corn kernel looking seeds. And if you ever find one on a creek bank and you see something that's big and robust and it's got gnarly roots and it looks a little like a turkey's foot with those overlapping scales, that'll be Eastern gamagrass that's washed out. And can you see the rows right here? I don't remember where I took that picture. I'm going to say somewhere either Hamilton County or a surrounding county to Hamilton County. But people plant this, and they plant a lot of it in Cameron, Milam County, probably planted here for pasture, for hay, and grazing. And they use a corn planter because, again, that seed is about the size of a kernel of corn, and they can plant it. Again, there's the distribution map. So see, it's more common in the eastern half of the state, but it has gaps. And if you don't think Elsa can grow some good plants, look at my wife's holding, Brenda's holding Eastern gamagrass. It's probably over 8 foot tall, a rescued grass that is doing well. Sideoaks grama. What's the significance of Sideoaks grama? State grass. When did it become the state grass? April 12, 1971. Yeah, by the Texas legislature, 54 years ago. So we have 2 Sideoaks gramas in Texas. Did you know that? We have the bunchgrass form, and it's Bouteloua curtipendula variety Kespitosa. Here's the orange flowers on the one on the right. And now here we have a rhizomatous Sideoaks. See how carpet forming it is? It's not a bunchgrass, but a carpet forming grass. And this is Bouteloua curtipendula variety curtipendula. And Latin sometimes will tell you what the meaning is. Curtipendula, look over on the left. Curti means short or shortened, the way the seeds are shorter than oat seeds. And hanging, the pendulous, hanging, so that's how it's interpreted. And the early settlers that came through here, they said, well, you know, that looks like the oats that we grew in Tennessee or wherever they were from, but it's a grass, so we're going to call it side oats. And then they put it in the grama family, and that's where it's stayed. But it's a very common grass, just doesn't get as big as the big four. Oh, and one more thing, the wood shavings. Hall's panic is another grass that has wood shavings, the way the leaves curl. Side oats does that too. Buffalo grass. For years and years, it was in the genus Bucolo. And we get new bunches of botanists every so often, and they use fancier equipment and DNA and everything. Well, they said, no, it needs to be in Bouteloua. So we moved it, and we got to relearn it. Now, here are the runners. This would be like early spring growth of buffalo grass, the stolons, the above ground runners. Now, without a seed head or seeds down low in the grass like buffalo would have, how can you tell if that's buffalo or another grass that makes a carpet called curly mesquite? You take the stolon and where the leaves are, you put your fingers on the leaves and you put that stem between your lips and go back and forth. And if it's smooth, that's buffalo grass. But if it's sandpapery because of hairs, that's curly mesquite. So early in the year like that, you can ID it that way. And again, buffalo's pretty common. I've seen it in the piney woods. It's not as common, but I've seen it over there. So this is why people use it for landscaping and xeriscaping. It makes a nice grass. Maybe water it once or twice, mow it about the same number of times. Come July and August, it's going to turn a straw yellow color as it goes into semi-dormancy. But then when September comes around and it rains, it'll green up until frost. So that's the way people like it to look right there. But then when the male flags are shooting up, that's when they might want to mow it because it looks ragged. But that's all right. So in this photo, I've got both the male, I should have separated them when I took that picture, but the male and the female, because you can see the seeds over here, the burrs down low, sometimes they're right above the ground. That's the male and the female, two separate plants, two separate parts. But buffalo grass seed's fairly expensive because it has a high seeding rate. If you're planting it out in a pasture, it's 15 pounds per acre, and it's always about $10 or $12 a pound. But if you're planting it in a yard, 1 pound per 1,000 square foot is a good ratio. And it's going to take it a couple of years to make a full stand, but it will eventually be a lot cheaper than any other grass you can plant. Scribner's Dichynthelium used to be Scribner's panicum. Good grass that grows well into winter. Those leaves attach to the base kind of in a clasping mode. Look at how it grows. It's mostly east half of the state, except it jumps over into the Trans-Pecos in about 3 counties, and it's up in the Panhandle a little bit. And it's probably more common than this map shows. The seeds are eaten by birds. If you look up there now where quail and dove and turkey, it mentions seeds. They have to have a slick, hard seed. You know, we can swallow a jelly bean. You might be swallowing pills that are that big, but can you swallow a cotton ball? Probably not. So quail and other birds, they don't want the fuzzy blue stems or fuzzy Indian grass seeds. They want slick seeds. But you can see how it attaches to the base, pointed on the tip. And it mentions in those handouts that it has parallel veins on the sheath. And the sheath, you can see the part of a sheath right there that goes on to the next leaf. But this is a neat little grass, very palatable. Cattle love it. Now we've got 2 wild ryes, and I always have to preach a little bit here. This is not ryegrass. Ryegrass is an introduced, invasive, terrible. You don't want to plant it. But these are both cool season growing. They start growing in the winter, and they're perennial bunch grasses, native in Texas, native in most of the Great Plains. We've got 2, Canada and Virginia. And I'm looking around to see if we've got any gentlemen from Canada here, or no, I don't see any. But if you're in Canada, it gets cold up there, doesn't it? So the men wear them old scruffy beards to keep their face warm. Over here, Virginia wild rye, the southern gentlemen keep their beards neatly trimmed, shorter. It may sound simple, but that ag teacher would approve of this. And then as they mature, notice how the Canada wild rye seed head, it's bushy, but also how it bows over. Think about where Canada lies in relation to the U.S. From the west coast to the east coast. It's over the U.S. Virginia is straight, and even in maturity, it doesn't bow over. If you want to go into a little more detail, we can pull the seed head off of each one, reach up and pull out of this area, out of right here. We can pull the glooms, and the seeds are inside the glooms. And we do the same thing over here for the Virginia. Down in the bottom, I've got them enlarged. Notice one has got a V shape to the gloom, and the other, Virginia, has a U shape. Would have made more sense if we could have said the V was Virginia, but it's not to be. But that's how you can ID them right down to the seed head and get them separate. But you can see on the Canada over there, it's kind of flared out, the awns are, and the glooms. So scruffy. What's that?
By looking at it and saying not.
Right. Remember, it's the opposite of what you want it to be. Okay, green springletop. This is one that gets added. It's native, and it gets added to a lot of range seeding mixes because it comes up quick, makes a little cover, protects the ground. Maybe here you don't get a blowing soil as much because of the tighter clays, but in the sandy country, that sand blowing will cut off some of the stems of new plants, kill them. So this provides cover and usually lasts about 4 or 5 years, and then it plays out. And I like one of the definitions that John Paslick gave in here. He said the seed head sprangles out, and that's how they are. They're kind of droopy. Look at where it grows, middle part of the state, way down into deep South Texas, Trans-Pecos. And there's that drooping sprangle look to the seed head. But it's a good grass, not real expensive to add into mixes, and does a lot of good for us. And it's a good grazing grass. If we go down to the creeks and the rivers, and definitely broadleaf wood oats is more common in the Edwards Plateau than what this shows. But this is one that grows in the shade. So if you've got a spot where nothing else can grow or wants to grow, broadleaf wood oats will grow. I don't know if y'all are going to have any in the sale, but the seed on this is like $130 a pound. So yeah, if you can harvest it, it's certainly a good grass. It also has that the base of the leaf tends to clasp. I'm trying to get right there. Tends to clasp onto the stem. And in deep South Texas, they call it fish on a pole grass. So it's warm season. It grows in the shade during the warm season. Wild rye's will be on the creek as well, but they grow in the wintertime after the leaves fall. So this is a good grass. Hooded windmill grass. This one has a white margin. It's hard to see in the photo, but maybe like a millimeter wide, white margin on both sides of the leaf. And it has a kind of a blunt tip. It also has the seed head that looks like a wagon wheel or a windmill. I think about 8 to 15 different wheels. And again, it's more or less right in here and west, especially west of here. Ranchers out in the panhandle of the state really like this grass because cattle love it. Doesn't get real tall, but it's there and it's good. Vine mesquite, look where it grows. Pretty well everywhere but the piney woods. The seeds stack up on little segments, like a finger. They stack a bunch of seeds, and then another segment starts, and they stack a bunch of seeds on that. It also has above ground stolons, the runners, and notice how hairy the nodes are. When we used to do prescribed burns, I would go out and look. We'd do the burn in March, and I'd go out in May or early June and look at the grass growth. And if vine mesquite had been there and gotten burned up when it was dormant, it would have new runners 5 and 6 feet long running out, spreading. The only drawback to this plant is about the germination on it is about 5%. So 95% of the seed is sterile. But you can grow it from, if you want it, you need to dig plants. Don't try to do it by seed. Just dig the plants and transplant it to where you want it. But there's the way the seed head looks. You know, you'd think that's a good quail plant because of the slick seed, but if it doesn't have much in it, nutrition-wise, then it's probably a waste of time for quail to be eating it. All right, silver blue stem. Common grass. This would be an early successional grass. Any kind of disturbance you find on the land, this is one of the first plants that comes back. You know, if you have bulldozing or road construction, this will be what comes back first. And the way you can ID it the easiest at a distance, look at those outer stems and they bend into a C shape. They bend at the nodes and they curve outward. The seed head is very white. The only other grass that has a seed head even closely related to that is Arizona cottontop, and it's very uncommon to see. But there's the early growth on the left, the late fall going into winter growth on the right, and look at where it grows in the county. Another one of those, probably 85% of the counties are shown with it. So an early successional, good old native grass, low in grazing. Look at it's got for cattle fair and sheep fair, goats poor, not much else for the wildlife other than nesting cover or fawning cover. Bushy blue stem. This is the one that grows down near the water or in the bar ditch. It can grow in town in a bar ditch if there's a seep there, because that seep will keep it alive. Here it is, early spring. Here we are, midsummer. It's starting to flare out like it is on the right. That's kind of mature. Fair grazing for cattle, poor for sheep and goats. I'll give you a word of warning. If you see this up on a high ground, like up in the uplands, don't drive over to it, because it's probably growing on a perched water table and you're going to sink up, because it likes to be where the water is. Texas wintergrass. A new name, Nacilla leucotrica. Used to be Stipa leucotrica. But I'll be dang if I'm going to ever call it Texas tussock grass. It's Texas wintergrass. And look at, it's common. It's even in the panhandle more than it shows. This is the one you called speargrass as a kid, and you could throw the seeds. Now look at that photo on the left. I took that north of Abilene. This grass, when I would look at the old historical plant composition analysis that people had done in the 30s and 40s of the early rangeland, this grass would have only made up 15 to 20% of the species out there. But look now, it and mesquite makes up 100% basically. So it's, man overgrazing the land. They graze it hard in the summer, which hurts the summer grasses. Then they move the cows to the wheat fields in the winter, and this gets rested. So the winter grass is rested every year. It's allowed to flourish while the summer grasses get hammered. All right, Gary, can you hit that button to start that down at the bottom? Hold up just a second. This is a Texas wintergrass seed, and this is how they mature. And they twist, and they have a couple of bends. And I drilled a little hole in that piece of wood and stuck the tip in it, and I moistened it with the top part, the spear shaft, between my lips, about 3 or 4 times, like that. Stuck it in there, started the slow motion, and those are 1 minute increments that are going by on that clock. So go ahead and click it now and let it run. So this is early in the morning. There's a dew, or it's gotten rained on, and it's uncoiling. And then as it dries out, day heats up, it goes to coiling the other way. What it's trying to do, notice it got skinny right there. It was trying to cut through the litter and thatch, and it's trying to plant that seed in the ground. And that's how Texas wintergrass spreads. Yeah. And if you dig up a Texas wintergrass plant and pull it apart right at ground level or slightly below ground level, you will find a seed without a spear shaft down there. And that's the purpose of that seed, is to replace that plant if it was to die. Jake Landers, old retired range specialist, told me that years ago. All right, we'll go again. Okay, white tridents. We got a couple of 3 tridents that we're going to cover. White tridents has a seed head not quite as big as a cigarette. It likes to grow in disturbed areas as well. So if you ever going down a ranch road and you slid off on a wet spot, several months later, you go back through there and look in that little gully you made, white tridents will be growing there. It likes just a little bit more water, and it will find those areas. Now the seeds are stacked on top of one another. Notice the color change, but they're stacked in there. That's the white tridents. Fair grazing, nothing to write home about. Common everywhere but the piney woods. We also have one called slim tridents, and notice how it grows. The seed heads are sort of, it's like a Morse code. It's dash, and then a couple of dots where it skips, and then a long dash of seed heads again. But there's the seed of slim tridents on the left, white tridents on the right. And the distribution's about the same everywhere but the piney woods. So mostly both of these are fair quality grasses. Both of them have the seed stacked one on top of the other. And then we have purple top tridents. Do y'all see this much? It likes to grow on the edge of oak pastures. That's a pretty solid patch right there of purple top tridents. Eastern 5/8 of the state. Now, purple top, we'll look at that picture in the middle. That's pretty purple at the top. Another thing about it, you can, from this time of the year on, maybe even from August on, you can go near the ground, pull your hand up the stem, and then rub your fingers together, and it's greasy, kind of oily. So that's a trait of the purple top tridents. Don't know what the purpose of it is, but it has that. So another native, I may or may not have given I don't guess I did. Whoops, going the wrong way. I didn't have the distribution map on there, did I? Yeah, right here. East half, eastern 5/8 of the state. Meadowdrop seed, look at where it grows. It likes about the same region of the state. This is a wiry grass. The leaves roll inward, almost like a tube, and they look like a wire. Very coarse old grass. It's very similar looking to the seat muleys. Notice up there for cattle, fair to poor, sheep, fair to poor, goats poor. Doesn't make a big seed for the birds, but it does provide nesting cover. There's the seed head against that board. Most of the time that seed head is down in the stem or in the sheath of the stem, and it's not extended. But it's just an old native standby, not nothing really fancy. I don't even know if you can buy seed for it, but you really wouldn't want to. There's other grasses better. And we've got a lot of threons, 18 different species of Aristida in Texas. And that's a composite map of all 18 of them across the state. The most common, I think, in y'all's area, purple threon, Wright's threon, and Oldfield threon. Now, very low, look at the grazing values, poor. But in February, maybe in late January down here, but in the rolling plains in February, there'll be a little bit of green up of those leaves down at the base, and cattle know that, and they find it, and they're getting some green, the first green they've had all winter. So it has a little bit of value for about a month, and then they quit eating it because they go to other grasses. And the way you can tell it, very simply, look for those 3 awns, look like a helicopter blades. But again, low value. You can probably, it would be a decent looking landscaping plant, but it's not going to be a good grazing plant. And those awns will float on the wind. That's how they spread. Hairy grama. Hairy grama has that little spike. Some people call it a spike or a spur on the end of the seed head. Blue grama, the seed goes all the way out to the end of the spike, and there is no extension. Hairy grama is a lower quality grass than blue grama. What does it say in the handout? Hairy grama has how many nodes per stem? 4 to 6. All right, we're going to go to this other one here. Elsa was sending us pictures of this one. Tall hairy grama, and it has less, like 3 to 4. Is that what it says? But look at the height difference. That's what you can look at as well. And tall hairy grama is in the area. There's no doubt. Hairy grama is a foot or less. Tall hairy grama is going to be 14 to 18 inches, something like that. And look at where it's growing here on the rock. You know, it can handle quite a bit of hot, dry conditions. Hairy grama and tall hairy grama. All right, this one may not be in your handout. I think I had to add one more to get to 25, but this is knot grass, K-N-O-T. It grows down in the water. It has stolons that run across the ground, and it has roots, and it spreads by seeds. So it's a trifecta, the way it grows. Look at the red stems and the curvature of those stems. The leaves are sharp tipped, but rounded at the base, and the old peace sign or V for victory. If you see a grass out in the water with this, that's going to be knot grass. But if you see a grass with this on the uplands, what's it going to be? Well, Dallas and or Bahia grass, two different grasses, but they both have that V shape. All right, look at the runners, the stolons of knot grass going across. There's probably a 1/4 inch of soil on top of that rock right there, but they're spreading out. And everywhere that you have a node, roots will form. So that's how it spreads. That's how it holds the soil along these creek banks, prevents erosion, makes for a very good grass. I think in some places you can even buy the seed. Some nurseries will sell it, but not everybody grows it. I haven't tried it. My wife hadn't tried it, but she does most of the gardening at our house. But I wondered if you couldn't cut those into segments and plant the internodal part and whether it would grow. Probably would. All right, here's a test. Name one of the 2 tallest grasses in Texas. This can be native or introduced. Rhododendron, Johnson grass, Indian grass. No. The rhododendron is the first one that's correct. Do you know what it looks like? You know what the second one is? Bamboo. It's a grass. Now, how does it spread? Here on the Nueces River, if it washes out of the bank, it goes downstream till it finds some more sediment to land in, and it roots. So it's a bad one. Fortunately, though, Arundodon has never been documented to have had fertile seeds in the United States. It does in China, but it doesn't here, which is a good thing because it makes a lot of seeds. So it spreads by stems and roots. And if you mow it, every little cut off piece can become a rooted plant. And if some of it flies up on the mower deck and travels for a mile or two and then bounces off, it can start growing there. Cattle will eat it if they have access to it, but not always they do. And there's the root of giant cane or a giant reed. A farmer in Hill County told me that the only good thing about Arundodon, well, he called it Georgia cane, I think. He said it hides junk cars and big snakes. And it does. Hides junk cars and big snakes. So this cutout of an oil tank battery was from the Panhandle. A friend sent it to me. I liked it. Some ranch painted it up. Home of wildlife. And I added native rangeland is the home of wildlife. So do we have any questions? Gary's bringing a microphone, a hot mic.
So, back to switchgrass, is upland switch different than the false switch?
Well, let me back up and say there are 2 switchgrasses, true switchgrasses. There's an upland switchgrass. If you want to buy seed and plant it on the uplands, you would buy a variety called Blackwell, named after Nolan County, a little community called Blackwell in Nolan County. If you want to put it on a creek, you need to buy the variety Alamo, which is a bottomland variety. So that's the one that likes the water. And then false switchgrass, I don't think you can buy seed for it, but it's slightly different. It's not a true switchgrass, but it looks so similar it got the name false switchgrass. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Buffalo grass from Bermuda grass.
How to tell buffalo from Bermuda grass? Well, Bermuda is not going to have the above ground, Bermuda is not going to have the above ground stolons. And it's going to have a seed head that comes up and has like 3 splits. And buffalo, the seed is down at the ground. It's that little burr. It looks like a grass burr, sort of. And it'll be within the first 2 inches above the ground normally.
I think I have buffalo.
Yeah. And the leaves of Bermuda will be a lot longer. You know, it may get this tall, whereas buffalo is 4 to 6 inches, unless you water it, and then it can get 7 or 8. And it's a blue-green color. It's a nice grass, you know. Good for cattle. It just doesn't produce a lot of tonnage of forage, but it's good. Okay, yes.
What's the difference between a muley and a grass?
Well, a muley is just a different species. It's a genus of grass. It's a different grass, different than, say, the bootaluas, like the buffalo is in now. It's just a different species. There are a lot of muleys. In fact, y'all had a couple of them on that slide, that first slide. Seat muley and was there purple muley? I can't remember. Guff muley, yeah. Lindheimer's muley is another one that gets about this tall. It's used a lot in landscaping, but it's just a different grass. I think the banks have a rule, you know, all the savings and loans and the banks, their landscaping has got to have Yopon and Lindheimer's muley in it. Drive by a bank and see if it doesn't have Yopon.
Can you repeat that
So
question for the
are there any
listeners?
grasses that could outcompete Bermuda grass, any native grasses? And I would put KR blue stem in with that as well. They're bad. And buffalo is probably the one because it's a carpet forming grass. It can kind of hold that little patch that it's on. I took some pictures on Highway 29 west of town on a ranch several years, 15, 20 years ago. And it was probably planted to a mixture that had maybe 25% KR blue stem in the mix, along with 3 or 4 other grasses. And when I saw it, it was about 100% KR, except for there was a patch about the size of that table over there that was buffalo. And there was no KR in the middle of it or on the edges. I mean, it was away from it. So it can compete, but not much else. With Bermuda, you can spray it with Roundup and kill it. Since it doesn't come or produce seeds, you kill it. But with KR, you've got the seeds to contend with. You can kill the plant, but you've got years and years of seeds that you have to get rid of.
Are there different types of big blue stem?
Well, are there different types of big blue stem? Well, there is one up in the Panhandle called sand blue stem. And it has 2 instead of the 3. It has 2 forks to the seed head. And it's in the same genus as big blue stem, but it's a different species. In fact, sometimes it's listed as a subspecies of big blue stem. But I think it could have some rhizomatous growth. I can't remember for sure. Yes.
So we do have an online question. Can you cut and bale any of these grasses, and is that commonly done?
Cutting and baling, probably the best one would be eastern gamma grass. If it was planted in the rows, you would be getting 12, 14,000 pounds per acre. Switchgrass is another one that makes a lot of tonnage, and it can produce 10, 12,000 pounds per acre too, which is equivalent to round bale, you know, Bermuda round baled up. It's that much production, and you don't have to fertilize it. You don't have to water it. So the natives are the way to go, and especially when back, I think it was in 2007 or 2008, fertilizer went sky high. Fertilizer that had been $300 a ton went to $1,200 a ton, and people quit fertilizing Bermuda. Well, the quality of the hay went down drastically that year. So it's a good grass if you want that kind of hay, but you've got to feed it. You got to keep the fertilizer to it. You got to weed spray it, insect spray it sometimes. So it's a high maintenance grass.
Could you talk about the difference between seep muley and canyon muley? At the field trip tomorrow, we think there's seep muley, but there could also be canyon.
Well, I'm more familiar with seep muley. I don't see canyon that often, so may have to research that a little bit tonight. I guess they both look very similar. I can't recall canyon muley, how it looks. Is it more like Lindheimer? More of an upright? Okay. A natural hybrid? I'll learn something new. Okay, so people here have said that the canyon muley is a hybrid between seep muley and Lindheimer muley. So natural hybrid, yeah. So an intermediate sized grass with the traits of both, correct? Okay, we may see that tomorrow. All right. Yes, I'll get you next.
A lot of your references relate to fresh water rather than salt water.
Yes, all of these are freshwater plants. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
So you gave us this list tonight, so is that because those are the most common plants in this area?
Well, I was asked to do a program for the common plants of Central Texas. So that's, and I looked at the distribution maps and they're all in this area or on the edge of this area. So
They were, or just native plants or?
well, probably 80% of them are decent cattle to good cattle plants, and then 20% of them are not. Okay. Any or another online question?
Can I overseed an earthwise low grow alternative lawn mix now, or should I wait until spring?
Well, if you're going to overseed something like Bermuda grass, buffalo grass, wintertime would be the best. Late December to about early February would probably be the best time. And there are people, I think Turner Seed in Breckenridge has a mix that has about a third buffalo, a third common curly mesquite, and a third blue grama. They're all short grasses, and you can put that mix out. It's going to take, if you're putting it into an established stand, it's whatever you plant, buffalo grass, is at a disadvantage because it's a seed that has to germinate and grow as opposed to an established plant that just has to green up. So you almost need to do some tillage, some light tillage to tear up those existing plants and give everything a fair chance to come up. All in and all done? Well, thank y'all for having us out here.
All right, we'd like to bid farewell to our online viewership and encourage them to find a balcony that they can find to transform. So kind of do what you can, where you can, when you can, to sort of spread native plants everywhere you can. So good night to our online viewership. Thank you for being here.